This is Eric Muathe with Muathe.com. Let's take a look here, and I'm going to be discussing a stock that somebody sent me via email. And it's not unusual for people to send me stocks that they think are breaking out, since this is what I specialize in. Now, here's a stock, and this is the 2-year weekly. Now, that's not our interest. Let's go to the monthly. And of course, the first thing we are going to check for is the ultimate Muathe Breakout minimum requirement. So number one, we can see that the stock is doing its best to clear this January monthly closing high. Okay, that's pretty obvious. Let's take a look and see whether the MACDs and the RSI meets the minimum requirement. So we can see the RSI for sure is moving to 3-year highs. So that's good. And if we take a look at the MACD, we can see one of the MACDs is moving to 3-year highs. So that's good. That meets the minimum requirements. We don't have to check the other MACD. So on the surface, it seems like a good candidate. Wouldn't you agree? But guys, there's a little bit more of an art to this. And sometimes this is where you might be failing yourself. Yes, I say you can do this on your own, and of course you can. It's not that difficult. So the breakout is good, meets the minimum requirements for the ultimate Muathe Breakout. So this is definitely, one would say, a good candidate, right? But again, let's train our eyes. I want you to train your eyes a little bit better. What do you see on this chart? Let me take off that. What do you see? I'll tell you what I see. Now remember, this is 3 years of monthly data. So let's just qualify that first and foremost. So of course, 3 years of monthly data. Now, again, we've already ascertained that it meets the minimum requirements for the ultimate Muathe Breakout. But what I see is instability. Now, you might think that it's going to change its behavior just because you have an interest in it. But that's not how it works. So that's the first issue right off the bat. Now I'll show you another major issue. And this is the one that gives this stock, in my opinion, a massive no. And let me show you why. Let's take a look at all data monthly. It will become self-evident. So let me zoom in here a little bit. So this is all data monthly from 2007. Now, here's why this to me does not meet the minimum requirement. Now, it doesn't mean that the stock cannot do well. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when I look further into it, I would rather choose other instruments. Here's why. Take a look at the biggest move this instrument has ever had. From a bullish perspective, there's a breakout here, right? That breakout took the instrument, let's call it from about 7 all the way to, let's see here, about 10. That to me is a weak move. Let's take a look at another breakout phase. Now I'm looking for periods where the stock was on fire. Its best moving periods. Again, we see a price breakout, let's call it again around 7, give or take. So about 7. Again, it goes to the highs here of about, let's even give it 11. And that took about 4 months. And guys, that's it. 2 periods where this instrument has attempted to move higher, but the results were weak. This is not what you are looking for. You want an instrument that has demonstrated past behavior of excellence. And so yes, the stock meets the minimum requirements, but ever since it started trading, all we see here is, for the most part, down to sideways, weak move higher. Down, sideways, weak move higher, and then down. This is from 2007. So the question becomes, is it going to change its behavior now? And see, that's demanding a lot when there are other absolutely phenomenal looking charts today, this very moment. So why waste time with this? Even if it goes on to double in price, triple in price. But why take the chance of this past behavior? This past behavior is in the books. It's in the books. There's no argument. So if it becomes a superstar stock, well, let it be. But it's going to do that without me being involved. And I've had history with these types of situations, and generally speaking, they default back to their prior behavior. Now, if you don't mind, let's take a look at today's instruments that are moving. So this is a live quote of the market, and some of the instruments moving today are up 20, 30, 40% for today's action. This was a recent Muathe Breakout alert, a recent Muathe Breakout alert, a recent Muathe Breakout alert. In fact, anyway, so let's take a look at a stock that is doing well today. And I want to show you why it pays to understand some of the variables. Yes, they might meet the minimum requirements, but you got to go a little bit deeper. So this stock is about 38% higher today. I want to show you the chart because the chart was not perfect. All right. So we can see here, this is again from 2006. This is the same instrument. Again, it's higher for the month, about 126%. And you can see here, if we take a look at what we are discussing here, this is a history of sideways to down. So 2006, 2007, and then it went into this sideways, multiple years of nothingness. So the question becomes, why did I add this? And it's added as a breakout candidate twice for paid subscribers to my website on October 5th and again on November 5th. So why do I add this as a breakout candidate for paid subscribe when we can see from the chart the history is not very great, which also means that I recognize that there are periods when an instrument can change its behavior. So the question becomes, why did I take this underperforming instrument and decide to play this instrument as a breakout candidate recently? And in our case, luckily, it has had a substantial move. Why? Well, number one, the space, the sectors that the stock is part of is on fire. That's one reason, but there's another reason based on the chart. So I'm going to go back and we're going to take a look at all data. And the reason why I looked at this instrument as a breakout candidate recently is because of this past behavior right here, where we see the instrument at some point in its history moved from about, we can call it maybe $2, went as high as, let's call it 67, if not 70. So this movement, this fact that at some point it moved higher with such strength is why I gave it a chance in the here and now. And we can see other periods. They're not the best examples, but we can also highlight a period where it moves here from the low of about 15. In a couple of months was trading at about, let's call it 48. That's good. Another period where it moved from, let's call it 5, went as high as 25. Now these are signs of an instrument that when it is in the right position, things are lined up, it can take off, just like it has done here recently. And even though it might not seem like much, if I take a look at the 2-year weekly, you can see that this instrument has had a phenomenal, absolutely screaming run, going from 75 cents recently to the high here of about $6. And if you're keeping score, that's almost a 700% move. And if we take the actual breakout, right here. Let's just say we take the breakout, which is what we are always looking for, or we take the next breakout. Again, all of these were there for the taking. As I mentioned, we are still looking at, let's call it a 400% plus gain from here to the current highs. And again, maybe there's more to come. And then another move here, let's call it about 90% gain in about a week. And of course, this 400% gain, this 700% gain has come within the last within the last 2.5 months or so. So yes, you can do this on your own, but every now and then I see that even with the minimum requirements, which you are familiar with, it seems to me you still are lacking the experience to filter through some of the candidates that you have in your watch list. If you don't have the time or the experience, it might make sense to let somebody else do the research for you and help you identify the next explosive instruments before they move. It doesn't have to be me, but I do charge a very modest fee, almost free in a sense, and this is what I specialize in. Again, you can do this on your own. The minimum requirements are simple, but you might be letting yourself down just because of the lack of experience. With experience, every day, or let me not say every day, it's not unusual on the regular that instruments that are moving in the entire market are instruments that are recent breakout candidate for my paid clients. And this is just a single day move. All right, enough of the selling. Again, you can do this on your own, to be frank. And even as I talk here, this instrument continues to move higher. Now the high for the session is at 650. And by the way, this was a big tell right here, a big signal. And this is things I talk about all the time. Eric Muathe, Muathe.com. Love, light, love. Namaste.